The housing market has been on a strong uptrend for the past few years, with prices rising at a steady pace. However, many experts are predicting that this trend has started and will continue to slow down over the next year. Oh, we got to talk about mortgages. We got to talk about real estate. We got to talk about the Fed. We got to talk about interest rates because it all factors into what say is a real estate bubble that is absolutely going to burst. And some say we've already seen the beginning signs of that already. Now, one reason for this is that mortgage interest rates are expected to continue to rise at least over the next few months as the Fed continues to raise rates. As interest rates rise, the cost of borrowing money to buy a home obviously also goes up, which makes it more difficult for people to afford to buy a home. This reduces the demand for homes, reduces the number of buyers, which obviously then can turn to lead to lower prices for homes. Another reason is slower growth in the economy. The economy is starting to slow off. That also contributes to a declining market. As the economy slows down, people are less likely to buy homes because they're worried about, one, losing their jobs, two, having their income reduced. This reduces the demand, obviously, for homes and also leads to lower prices. In addition to lower demand for homes, high mortgage rates can also make it more difficult for people who already maybe have homes and are looking to refinance their mortgages, take money out of their house if they have a lot of equity. This makes it more difficult for people to lower their monthly mortgage payments, obviously, which can reduce their ability to save money and then spend on other things. So it has a ripple effect. This also can reduce overall spending in the economy. We're seeing all of this happen right now. And as we've talked about, with mortgage rates around 7%, with the Fed continuing to raise the federal funds rate, we're looking for a raise in here in December, probably another one in January, maybe even another one in February. And then if the terminal rate ends up at 5.5%, 5.75%, maybe they have to leave it there for like a year. Real estate market is the first thing we're going to start. We've already started to see it start to come down. Let's take a look at home builders because there's a big story out of Texas. One of the bigger home builders, Lennar. They're a leading home builder in the United States. Company was founded in 1954. They're based in Miami, Florida, doing a lot of building in Texas. They're doing a lot of 3D printing building to try to lower costs. They build a wide variety of homes, including single-family homes, townhouses, apartments. But what I want to focus on looking at today is some of the communities they're building across the country. Now, this is a company that's known for a focus on quality, focus on innovation. They offer a wide variety of design. They build to suit different lifestyles, different budgets. Lennar also offers a range of services and resources for homeowners, including financing options, home warranties, and customer support. But take a look at this in Bloomberg yesterday. Lennar offers 5,000 homes to investors with buyer demand sliding. Home builders are seeking to move inventory by selling discounted subdivisions to rental landlords. Lennar Corporation, one of the biggest U.S. home builders, is offering to sell thousands of homes to rental landlords at a time when sales to everyday buyers have slumped. Lennar is circulating lists of properties to potential acquirers, according to people familiar with the matter, who asked not to be named because of the process is private. Many of the properties are located in the Southwest and Southeast, the people said, with the builder giving landlords the chance to acquire entire subdivisions in some cases. A representative for Lennar said the company offers single-family landlords the chance to buy unsold, completed homes, as well as homes that are nearing completion as part of its normal marketing efforts. The most recent inventory list had about 5,000 homes, though the number changes monthly. The average price of a home Lennar sells is fiscal quarter 3 was about $491,000. That gives the properties currently on offer to landlords a potential value of roughly $2.5 billion, though buyers generally demand significant discounts from retail prices for making bulk purchases. And if you ask why would they be doing this, and it's clear they're trying to move inventory. They don't see buyers there. So if you have cash right now, cash is king. Cash has been king. If you're a developer, if you're looking for these kind of communities, and you can go in there and scoop these things up, you're probably looking at a 25% discount to what would be normal selling prices on your money. So it could be a good deal for somebody. Lennar obviously looks at it as we've got to start moving inventory. We can't be holding on to this inventory. Obviously, they want to keep things moving, getting on to their next projects and things like that. It's been a turbulent year for builders who saw frenzied demand for suburban homes slow sharply when mortgage rates soared. Higher borrowing costs push home buyers to cancel contracts, lending builders to abandon deals to acquire land. And that's it. You know, from the beginning of the year to now, if you wanted to buy a house, if you weren't locked in and able to close, the cost of buying that house, closing fees, down payment, mortgage percentages, all of that went absolutely sky high. It probably 3x'd, 4x'd over the year as the Fed raised rates. If you were trying to buy a home, and as we've talked about, what happens when people can't buy a home, forces them to rent. Rent factors into CPI. CPI stays hot. Inflation looks hot. Fed feels like they have to continue to raise rates. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy that we cannot get out of. Now, we're still waiting to see what the Fed will do in December. Will they raise 75? Most people think they're going to raise 50 basis points, and then 25 in January, maybe another 25 in February. And again, people in the housing market, they have no choice but to sit, almost no choice but to sit on the sidelines. No one wants to be locking in, especially from what we've been used to. Sure, you go back 20 years ago, maybe a 6-7% mortgage rate was a pretty good deal. What people have been used to with free money, getting rates around 2 3/4, 3, 3 1/4. Nobody wants to lock in for more than double to get into a house. So the real estate market continues to suffer. Lennar isn't alone, this article says. In recent months, builders have sought bids from rental operators on at least 40,000 homes, said Jeff Klein, executive director of one of the single-family rental advisory arms of SVN. Many of those properties have been under contract with individual buyers who walked away from purchase agreements. Increasingly, builders are looking to sell one or more subdivisions at a time. I mean, think about it. If you locked into buying a new home, a development, but you hadn't locked in your mortgage, you hadn't locked in any of the financial aspects of these transactions, and you go to do it, and then you start looking at the numbers, and you go, these numbers just don't work for us. There's no way we could afford this. There's no way we can do this. There's no way we can afford to pay a 7%, carry a 7% jumbo mortgage. There's no way, we can come up now with 20% down, which is double or triple what we thought it was going to be. So it really has affected people. Single-family landlords have been eyeing builder inventories for months, with some, like industry giants Invitation Homes, Inc., seeking to raise new funds to pounce on opportunities. Transactions have been muted as investors wait for greater clarity on interest rates and for pricing to come down. Lennar has also raised money to acquire rental houses, tapping Alliance Real Estate and Centerbridge Partners for $1.25 billion in equity commitments in 2021. But Lennar, which plans to spin off a subsidiary that owns and operates single-family rentals and apartment buildings, has been a cautious buyer. The company sold about 1,000 rental homes in its fiscal third quarter, with some of those properties going to outside investors rather than Lennar's single-family rental operations. And, of course, some of these companies, Red Door, Open Door, all these doors, all of these, even Zillow at some point was trying to flip houses. I mean, some of that strategy for some of these companies, there's whispers that Open Door might be going out of business due to the losses they took on trying to own and then flip properties. There's just no buyers anymore. Mortgage rates at 7%, there's just no buyers anymore. Now, one other thing I want to share with you here, Peter Schiff, the real estate bubble is losing air and a financial crisis is coming. Now, Mr. Schiff obviously is if you know him, he's a big gold bug. But he's also very smart on these issues. And he understands the economy and how it works better than I think most people who work in the economy and make it work. So, when I listen to him and I read things he says, I think you have to give it some credence that he's not just trying to be provocative, because he understands how this stuff works. He says artificially low interest rates blew up a big housing bubble. Peter Schiff explained that it's actually a bigger bubble than the one preceding the 2008 crash. But this time it's combined with an overall bubble in the entire economy that dwarfs '08. Peter said that all of this has the makings of another massive financial crisis. As the Federal Reserve continues to push up interest rates, the air is slowly coming out of the housing bubble. That leads some people to believe CPI will begin to drop because shelter costs are ostensibly falling. But Peter pointed out that just because housing prices are falling doesn't mean that shelter costs are falling. And this is exactly what we're saying. Mortgage rates go up, makes people have to rent, owner's equivalent rent, huge part of CPI. Could we see CPI tick up this month? We're going to find out this coming Tuesday. A 30-year fixed mortgage is now 7%. That means that even if you pay a little less, your financing cost is much, much higher. On top of that, you have higher insurance prices, higher property taxes, and higher maintenance costs. Mr. Schiff points out that there is some incentive to strategically stop making mortgage payments because it takes so long for banks to foreclose and actually kick people out of their homes. Meanwhile, people don't pay property taxes and don't maintain the property. By the time the bank completes the foreclosure, the collateral, the house, has drastically decreased in value. And listen, I think that's a valid point, because if the real estate market continues to dip, you're going to have mortgage companies that are going to start to feel the pinch from buyers not paying mortgages, not paying property taxes. Values of those properties continue to go down. Now, all of a sudden, you're underwater on some of these properties from what people owe to what it's worth. Can really be a big problem, and this is what leads to systemic problems in the economy. This will slow the housing market even further, and it's a problem for lenders. Now they're stuck with money-losing mortgages because rates are moving up, but they're collecting low interest rates on these mortgages. They're going to lose money on them. But then for the people who don't pay mortgages because they're so underwater, the bank is going to lose again, because now when the bank forecloses, the value's not going to be there. Real estate prices are going to be more of a reflection of the current high mortgage rates than the previously low mortgage rates, because anyone buying a house has to pay the higher rate. The fact that many people won't sell in this market should reduce the supply of available homes, and that will theoretically push home prices down. But it won't likely give the market a significant boost because of the high mortgage rates. Ultimately, the price is going to be a function of what the buyer is able to pay. And the buyer is not able to pay very much when interest rates are high. The buyer can pay a lot more when interest rates are low, because what you're buying are the monthly payments, not the price. And that's a good point, because that's how many people think about things. When people go in to buy a car, what do they say? And it's always a mistake. They tell their agent, I want to be around this price. They buy the price. They don't buy, they buy the payment, not the price, not the overall price of the car. They say, hey, I'll lease, I'll buy, I don't care which one, but I want to be at this payment. Same thing with the house. They want their mortgage payment to be X. And if they can't be there, it doesn't matter what the price is, so they buy the payment, not the price. These problems were part of the 2008 financial crisis. Peter said it will be an even bigger problem this time. Rates were lower for longer. The real estate bubble is even bigger than the one we had back then. Even more concerning is that the real estate bubble is now combined with an overall bubble in the entire economy that dwarfs what we had in 2008. That's why this is a much bigger financial crisis that's probably around the corner. And again, that's why I don't believe the Fed is going to sit back and just watch the whole thing play out. It's going to hold off as long as it can and try to maintain as much credibility as it can. But the minute it senses that things are about to implode, it will turn on a dime. And of course, what he means by that is start to cut rates, lower rates back down, back to turn the money printer on. The money printer starts to go burr again. Everything's good. All risk assets go up. Equities go up. Bitcoin goes up, crypto goes up, gold goes up, silver goes up, commodities go through the roof, real estate goes back up, Fed pivots, starts to lower rates. Now, will that happen? We'll wait and see. But again, it's kind of bend, don't break with the Fed so far. Unemployment has remained low, job market has remained tight, so they're able to say, we can raise rates, the economy can take it, it's still good, nothing's broken yet. Keep an eye on the bond market. Keep an eye on the inversion of the 2s to 10s, those things which we're doing. But the real estate market specifically, most people think has already started to kind of crest and now come down the other side. How far will it go? That's the question. All right, everybody, as always, support our sponsor, Mike Lindell, and MyPillow, mypillow.com/LFS6B. Use our code LFS6B for checkout. You got to get those orders in if you want to get them by Christmas. The deadline is coming up here probably this week if you want to have them in time for December 25th. Use our code LFS6B for all the best prices at checkout, mypillow.com/LFS6B, and I'll see you in the next one.